this video related to this channel action plan for existence. Food forests or agroforests play a central role and are characterized by carbon and biodiversity enriched deep soils. Resume of the former video. Once a certain threshold of antibiotic resistance of plague is surpassed, no modern human action will be able to stop plague or to control the plague. Other serious threats, especially other bacterial infections, will already be or become untreatable and unstoppable too. Antibiotic shortages could become more common. Modern medicine could become an option, and modern healthcare could enter in unprecedented collapse. Introduction of this essay. The hypothesis, claims and conclusions of the former video. Tell us that surpassing a certain threshold of antibiotic resistance leads to consequences that no one can stop. This stays valid even assuming that everyone that would need antibiotics would be aware of the need of these antibiotics and need them in time. In time means in 24 hours in the case of plague. Any shortage or delay in delivery can hasten the surpassing of the threshold. This is not obvious, just for example, because pneumonic plague, PP, is difficult to differentiate and to be diagnosed because some early symptoms are similar to symptoms of common diseases, such as flu-like symptoms 1 to 7 days after infection. This is an article, does plague have flu-like symptoms? Talking about symptoms 1 to 7 days after infection. After this flu-like phase, they develop different symptoms depending on the form of plague. But that's too late because you have to start treatment with efficient antibiotics in 24 hours. So treating plague is not obvious at all. Control plague is not obvious at all. There is only one cause of plague, that is Yersinia pestis, but there are 3 different forms of illness the infection can cause, and again symptoms can be very common for the first 1 to 7 days. Provoking the threshold moment and antimicrobial resistance. Antimicrobial resistance includes antibiotic resistance. dire conclusions made until now are valid, also assuming that everyone that would need it will have access to the right, that means efficient antibiotic for the infection. These were two assumptions. These favorable assumptions, having the right antibiotic in time, is not obvious at all for several reasons. But I will only talk about them on another occasion because it would take too much time. Just to mention only one reason, the former first line antibiotic, streptomycin, against plague are not freely available on the global market anymore. And in the case you would need it to survive a plague infection, most probably you will not get it in time, and one needs to use the right efficient antibiotic in time, in the first 24 hours, to prevent irreversible damage and to preserve one's survival chances. By the way, antibiotic resistance against tuberculosis has reached such proportions of antibiotic resistance that tuberculosis is re-emerging. The fact that streptomycin was used against tuberculosis is telltale for a problem. Further, please observe the temporal association between tuberculosis and plague on one side and the rising, the emergence of AIDS, HIV on the other side. Dementia, Alzheimer and autism enter the same association. Observe also the temporal association between dementia, Alzheimer and autism on one side and the rising of coronavirus on the other side. The rising of coronavirus took place in 3 steps when considering the variants: SARS, MERS, and since 2019 the actual coronavirus. Also, the re-emergence of tuberculosis could involuntarily point out the association between certain viruses and certain bacterial threats or microbial threats like tuberculosis. These microbial or bacterial threats unwillingly increase plague antimicrobial resistance, the problem we are talking about. In my hypothesis, HIV emerged, at least partially, to prime the person and the herd against TB, which which is a microbial infection, and a serious threat, but still less threat as plague is, especially when plague will also reach the threshold of antibiotic resistance that TB possibly already reached. This is a demonstration that antibiotic resistance of a certain pathogen is enough or can be enough to trigger and re-emerge a pathogen, an epidemic or a pandemic of a pathogen that was defeated and declared as something of the past for decennia or centuries. The plague was considered defeated and declared as something of the past for centuries. Well, this is not completely correct. Uncertainties about TB and obviously all bacterial infections, including plague, needs more study and more options. Tuberculosis, TB, offers us an unprecedented opportunity to do so, to study and look for more options, which I don't think is done sufficiently. This was a vaccine against tuberculosis, but for some reason it doesn't solve at this moment. These are questions that have to be made and have to be answered. Reality often tweaks the norms and could be worse than the worst case scenario. I will show this in a more complete video. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you